Morning. I'd like to read the parable of the wedding feast, which is in Matthew 22, and I think it appears in Mark or Luke as well. I can't remember. Immediately before that, in Matthew, is the parable of the wicked vine dressers, which I did a video on a few days ago. It's a nice short parable, but it's kind of explaining how God sees us as his fruit and how he wants to gather us, so he sends his servants and we end up beating or killing them all, and the final one is his son, which he thinks, well, surely they'll respect him, but that's the one that they kill the most because he's the heir to the throne. So the point in that is, like, you are the fruit and God's going to send someone to gather you. Pay attention. People are probably going to beat that person, tell them they're mad, they've lost their mind. But the gathering of the fruit is to go to like a greater place, which is heaven. And this is not it. This life is not it. And whether you're religious or not, spiritual or whatever your disposition, whether you've considered reincarnation or what happens when we take our final breath, do the lights go black or is there something else? Well, it's heaven, and it's spoken about explicitly throughout the Bible. And you'll say, well, why is the Bible the truth? I mean I have a lot of different angles, and I've intellectualized it and I've felt it, and I've reluctantly come to that position, but yeah, it's spoken about in here often. Our point is not to be here. This is not our home. We're not of this world. We're meant to like go up there, as long as we kind of just are able to find faith. So here's the parable of the wedding feast. And Jesus answered and spoke to them again. The kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son. And he sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding, and they were not willing to come. Again, he sent out other servants, saying, "Tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fatted cattle are killed, and all things are ready. Come to the wedding." But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his own farm, another to his business, and the rest seized his servants, treated them spitefully, and killed them. But when the king heard about it, he was furious, and he sent out his armies, destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. Then he said to his servants, "The wedding is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. Therefore, go into the highways, and as many as you find, invite to the wedding." So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all whom they found, both bad and good. And the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he saw a man there who did not have on a wedding garment. So he said to him, "Friend, how did you come in here without a wedding garment?" And he was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, "Bind him hand and foot, take him away and cast him into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen." So, like, Jesus is the groom, and the church is his bride. He wants to marry and bring you to the wedding. He wants you there, but you have to get down on one knee and invite him in and say, "I'm sorry, like, I repent. I want you in my life. I want to be there. I don't like this world." And if you're fixated on like living your life to the fullest here and not for God and his glory and his mercy, then then you have your reward. And that's something that Jesus reminds us, like, don't worry about the people who are hoarding their resource or exploiting others or taking advantage or just generally like damaging the system. They have their reward. They've gratified themselves over and over again at the expense of coming to the wedding. So it's like, once you know that the wedding is happening, the kingdom of heaven, once you feel it, once you've seen it, and you see it by being born again, you cannot see the kingdom of heaven until you are born again. I think that's when Jesus is talking to Nicodemus at the start of John, and it's not seeing, it's perceiving through the Spirit. So yeah, I mean, like, how do you know that heaven's real? And like, why are you so sure of Jesus? It's like, I feel it. I just feel it viscerally, and the words are like springing out of the page. And this is a story you'll hear when you speak to born again Christians, and you think, what are you on about? How can you say you're born again? So in John 3:3, most assuredly I say to you, unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. So how do you get born again? Well, it's saying, I'm not happy with my old life. Like, I want to abandon it. It's terrible. I'm suffering here. I've never found peace. I'm just like going from one mission to another, trying to gratify and dull my senses so I don't have to face my own misery or my own shame. But like, I give that all to you, Jesus, because you've died for my sins. You've died for my sins, and I don't have to do anything else. So it's a free gift of salvation. So the wedding feast is our ticket to heaven through salvation. Yeah. And as I'm saying this, like, there's still part of my old self clinging on, feeling like, you sound like you've lost the plot, mate. People are going to think you're mad. And I know that, and I'm holding back a lot. I really am, and I don't like it. I wish I could just really come out and say what I feel and think, because it's not. I'm really in it. I really feel it. I really feel Jesus. Like, I really feel the Spirit. It's a lot. It's mad, and I know I've been baptized by the Spirit. Yeah. This happened. This was just wild. Like, this happened when I went to this silent retreat. It's Christian based, and it was the third time being there. I got a lot from just going, but it was the evening I'd arrived on this third retreat, and I was sat in the chapel as mass started, and I had my eyes closed, and I just kind of zoned out of the room, and I had this real vivid impression of this hand coming down on top of mine. It's like a good burly manly hand, and then I felt like this male figure with long hair, Jesus, coming right up into my face and saying, like, you're good, I've got you. And then kind of disappeared and reached into my heart with his hand, ripped it out, and then like got another one and shoved it in. No, it wasn't shoving, it was placing. And then the next thing, and I'm just sobbing. It's like literally streaming whilst this mass is starting, and I was sat at the back, like, and then the next thing I know was that my body was floating on top of this running river, and just all of this blackness was like being washed off. It was like ink in water, but because the river was flowing, it's just all kind of disappearing, and then I could feel myself becoming more and more pure, and it was my sins being washed away, and it was me receiving a new heart. And both of those are you being baptized by the Spirit. And after that point, when I read these parables, I was like, I get it. Like, I really get it. Because before I was reading these, thinking, what does it say? What does it mean? like here's a good one, right? The parable of the mustard seed. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all the seeds. But when it is grown, it is greater than the herbs, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches. It's like, what does that mean? Well, it means that the kingdom of heaven is God, and he's spreading seeds. We are his seeds, and he toils and sows. He toils and waters over those seeds. And I'm not explaining it well. No, I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know. I get it though. Oh, it's wild. I don't really. Yeah, well, like your seed just grows, and then you will just become like this spiritual, this tree that people can lean up against, or you can share yourself, or give, or I don't know. It's wild. It's really wild, but it's like it's really real, and so Jesus is peace, and like he is love. We are just spirits, and the more we intellectualize stuff, the more we miss. So that's why the parables are so beautiful. Like, it cannot be understated, honestly. They're written in a way that only a child, if you're viewing it through a childlike lens, would you truly understand it. So it really requires getting over like any pride of intellect, which has been a real problem of mine. So yeah, I just think, and I've paid attention to some of the comments, especially from atheists, and they say like, well, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? And I'm thinking like, I don't know, I feel it, like I know the evidence, but we're looking for like logical and binary answers. Well, the spirit world is not that, and if we tried to, we'd brutalize and decimate it, so it's just something to be enjoyed like a small child, to have like pure wanderlust over, and therefore like we are just spirits. We are children of God. We are sheep. We are Jesus' sheep, and that's why they're all metaphors. If you try to explain the kingdom of heaven, or spirits, or God in a book, you'd need hundreds of thousands of books, and it would never do it justice, because our brains can't compute. So we just give it all. We literally give it all to God. We give it all, and we just say like, I give myself. I don't want to be here. This world is terrible. It's like really, really terrible. And like I'm locked in. Like I just give everything away, including my sanity, my pride, my intellect, my possessions. I don't want it. I really don't want it. But like I want you. I want to be up there. There's nothing down here for me. I'll say that there is nothing down here for me. Yeah, it does not feel like home. This is not our home. We're not meant to be here. And if that's resonating with you, like, I implore you to just like reach out and say, like, are you real? Like, and it helps to just remove some distractions. If you're asking above, remove distractions. Start. Well, I guess it is kind of meditating. It's turning meditation into like prayer in some ways. Oh, sugar, I need to go. Anyway, I just feel the need to read Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. And then read, I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and body more than clothing? Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. It's God speaking to you, just like, it's gonna be okay. Don't be afraid. Just like lock in, and then surrender, relinquish. We're not meant to be here. It's just like, we're just being grown. We're in the garden. And he's just pouring water over us. Sometimes pruning, sometimes uprooting and moving you to greener pastures. But like, don't worry, he's got it under control. That's all you need to know.